Listen, no offense to back to school and Christmas, but this is the true best time of the year. Hey guys, welcome back to Camp Media. My name is Josh, and today is October 1st, which means we can officially kick off my favorite time of the year, Halloween Horror Fest. I've compiled a list of 31 horror movies, one for each day of the month for you to enjoy. Some of them are classics, some of them you might never heard of before. All of them are guaranteed to scratch that horror itch, so buckle up, get ready, and let's get this list started. Alright, to kick things off for October 1st, we've got The Burning, which premiered May 8th, 1981. If you're a big fan of the Friday the 13th franchise, this movie is going to be right up your alley. In fact, Tom Savini, who is responsible for many of the effects throughout the Friday the 13th franchise, turned down working on Friday the 13th Part 2 in order to work on this movie. You can find The Burning streaming on Shudder or for sale on Fandango now. And on to October 2nd, we have Child's Play 2, which premiered November 9th, 1990. Some of you might be wondering why I chose this over the original movie. I just prefer some of the events that play out in this one a little bit more than the original. Plus, I really like the secondary protagonist, Kyle. I find she adds a little bit of extra spice to this movie that the original doesn't have. Plus, the ending of this movie is so much better than the other Child's Plays that I couldn't not include this one on the list. Also, this was supposed to start the multiple Chucky storyline, however it was axed and held off until 2017's Cult of Chucky. You can find this movie streaming on Hulu or Amazon Prime. And coming in at number 3 and the 3rd, we have Hashtag Alive, which premiered June 24th, 2020 in South Korea, and on September 8th, 2020 on Netflix. I actually just did a review for this movie on the channel, so if you want to see my full thoughts on it, head over to that video after you're done this video and check it out. This movie contains tons of great zombie action, and the acting is phenomenal. If you like 28 Days Later, Train to Busan, or Dawn of the Dead 2004, you are gonna love this movie. Make sure to check it out on Netflix. Coming in on October 4th, you can't have a Halloween Horror Fest without this guy on it. Starring Robert Englund and premiering November 9th, 1984, we have Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. Listen, I love me some Jason and I love me some Michael, but Freddy Krueger is by far my favorite horror slasher. When this movie came out back in the day, it single-handedly saved New Line Cinema from bankruptcy, resulting in the company being called The House That Freddy Built. This is a must-watch for Halloween, guys. Make sure to check it out on Shudder or Amazon Prime. On October 5th, we have The Stepfather, which premiered January 23rd, 1987. This movie stars Terry O'Quinn, which some of you might recognize as the actor who played John Locke on the TV series Lost. The movie revolves around a man who must have the perfect family at any cost. And if anything goes wrong, there's gonna be hell to pay. I recently just watched it myself and thought it was pretty decent. You can check this movie out on Starz or Amazon Prime. And slashing in on October 6th, we have Sleepaway Camp, which premiered November 18th, 1983. Starring the wonderful actress Felissa Rose, this unexpected hit made back over 30 times its original budget and became an instant cult classic. The movie revolves around a young girl who attends camp for the first time following a family tragedy, and a series of killings start occurring, causing the camp counselors to start suspecting the worst. The movie definitely takes a really crazy turn towards the end. Probably crazier than most other horror movies at the time, so make sure to check this one out. You can catch this movie on Amazon Prime or Shudder. And on October 7th, we have Darkness Falls, which premiered January 24th, 2003. The movie revolves around a man who's afraid of the dark because he saw his mother killed by a supernatural entity when he was just a boy, and now it has returned to get him. It's kind of a movie about a killer tooth fairy, but it's definitely a hell of a lot less sillier than that. Trust me on that one. It's funny, the movie actually had to be extended by a few minutes in the credit sequence because it wasn't technically long enough to make it to theatrical release. You can check this movie out on Starz or Amazon Prime. And using her psychic powers to grab the October 8th spot on the list is Carrie, which premiered November 3rd, 1976. The movie revolves around a young teenage girl who begins to develop psychic powers after being relentlessly bullied at her high school. However, her mother, who is devoutly religious, vows to prevent her from using these powers she deems satanic. Stephen King actually prefers the ending of this movie to the ending of his own book, he liked it so much. You can catch this movie streaming on Showtime or Amazon Prime. And coming October 9th for a sleepover is Slumber Party Massacre, which premiered September 10th, 1982. I actually only just recently saw this movie for the first time myself, and I can't believe I hadn't seen it until now. It's a really great 80s slasher. Has some really great chase scenes, some really great kills. You're definitely missing out if you don't watch this movie. However, this movie does probably have the worst sequel that I've ever seen in my life, so try to avoid that one. You can catch Slumber Party Massacre on Amazon Prime. And setting themselves loose in your home on October 10th are The 13 Ghosts, which premiered October 26, 2001. This movie stars the awesome Matthew Lillard, who played Stu in Scream and also Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo, and also in the animated TV shows and movies. In this movie, in order for them to see the ghosts, they have to wear a special type of goggle that makes the ghosts appear in front of them whenever they have them on. In the original version of this movie, that this movie is a remake of, in order for the audience to see the ghosts in the movie, they had to wear a type of almost, not 3D glasses, but similar to that for them to see the ghosts on the screen, which I think is a pretty cool connection. You can catch this movie on Shudder or Amazon Prime. And rolling in on October 11th is Choppy Mall, aka Killbots, which released March 21st, 1986. This movie revolves around a mall that just upgraded its security features with 3 new robots, only to have them struck by lightning and malfunction and try to kill the remaining people inside the mall. This is actually a really great 80s horror film. I hadn't seen it until last year, and then after I watched it, I knew this had to be added to my yearly horror watch because it is pure great 80s horror. There was originally supposed to be a sequel for this movie, and there was in talks for a little while, but it just never came to fruition. You can watch this movie on Shudder or Amazon Prime. And coming in at number 12, we have The Blair Witch Project, which premiered January 23rd, 1999. The movie revolves around 3 college students who go exploring in the Black Hills, only to disappear and have their footage discovered 1 year later. This movie was an insane hit at the time. A lot of people thought that the movie was real and that all the footage was real, so there was a huge storm kicked up over it in the 90s. Of course, the internet wasn't as big back then, so people couldn't find out the truth. So at the time, this movie was a big deal. So the hype caused the movie to do really well and caused fan footage to kind of explode after that. You can catch The Blair Witch Project on Shudder and Amazon Prime. Coming in huge on October 13th, we have the worldwide premiere of Womp Stomp Films' Never Hike in the Snow. This features the return of Tom Matthews as Tommy Jarvis and Ghost Jason. This is a direct sequel to 2017's Never Hike Alone, which was a really great Friday the 13th fan film, and this one's shaping up to be the exact same. It seems like there's going to be a ton of great kills and a ton of action. This is also the first Friday the 13th movie to be set during the winter time, which I'm super excited for. I know you guys must be too, to be that kind of environment with all those kills. Drop everything you're doing and make sure to tune into YouTube on October 13th to see the premiere of Never Hike in the Snow. And stabbing his way into the October 14th spot is Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, which premiered Friday, April 13th in 1984. This movie is the start of the Tommy Jarvis saga that we just saw in Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow. It's also the end of Jason as a living, breathing human being. And the next time we would see him, he becomes the undead Jason that we all know and love. So this is kind of a special movie in the franchise. And I also consider it the best movie in the franchise, right up there with Jason Lives. You can check this movie out on Hulu or Amazon Prime. Alright guys, to wrap up part 1 of our 30 Days of Horror list, coming in on October 15th, we have Evil Dead 2, which premiered March 13th, 1987. This movie is often considered a remake of the first movie, The Evil Dead, but in actuality, they weren't able to obtain the rights to use the first film's flashbacks, so they recreated the events at the start of the second film from the first film so that people could have a recap of what happened. The movie's a hell of a lot more wacky than the first Evil Dead, but it's definitely a lot more fun. You're not missing out at all if you skip the first Evil Dead and go straight to this one. You can catch this movie streaming on Shudder, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. Alright guys, that's it for part 1 of my 31 Days of Horror Halloween Horror Fest list. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Keep an eye out for part 2, that's going to be really soon. Like and subscribe if you like the content, it really helps out the channel. Leave me a comment in the comment section down below. If you have or haven't seen these movies, I want to hear from you. Alright guys, until the next one, have a good one.